Welcome to 30 Days on Mount Desert Island, Maine. It's December 13, 2018, and I'm Todd Dunn. And as you might have guessed by this sign, today I'm going to be visiting the village of Bass Harbor, Maine, which is in the town of Tremont and is located on the west side of Mount Desert Island. Right now I'm driving into Bass Harbor from the strip of Acadia National Park that goes across the southern tip of Mount Desert Island, and we've just entered Bass Harbor, and this is the southeast part of the village. Bass Harbor is part of the town of Tremont. It is one of 5 villages in the town, and Tremont has about 1,200 people. Bass Harbor probably has about a third of those people living in it. So it's not a heavily populated area, as you can see right here as we head toward the center of Bass Harbor. As we drive up here in just a little bit, we're going to be passing the Bass Harbor Campground, which is a private campground. It's on the right here. You can see the fence, and behind there they have tent camping. And up at the other end of the campground, they have space for RVs. And this is the first business you encounter as you come into Bass Harbor from this direction. And here's the RV section. They even have a little swimming pool here. And on the other side of the road, over here, they have more tent camping. Right here, we have a turn onto Lighthouse Road, and if I turned left here, I would be down at the Bass Harbor Head Lighthouse in about 2 minutes. So we make a hard right turn. Now we're heading north, and we're headed toward the center of Bass Harbor. The harbor itself is on the left. It's about 150 yards over, but you can't see it from here. This is one of the subdivisions down that side road, McKinley Lane. And as we continue up here, we just pass through more of the residential core of Bass Harbor. You can see it's pretty heavily built up here. Well, it is by Bass Harbor standards. And pretty soon we're going to get to some more of the business core of Bass Harbor, if you will, downtown. One thing you do have to watch in Bass Harbor is that in town there's a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, and although the town of Tremont does not have its own police department, they do contract with the county sheriff who patrols, and they frequently have a radar trap set up right here in front of the Tremont Fire Station. As we come down here, we're going to get to the center of town, perhaps the busiest place in town, and that is the U.S. Post Office. I'm just going to turn in there for a second and talk a little bit about it. Bass Harbor first got a U.S. Post Office right around 1900. At that time, there wasn't really a formal name for Bass Harbor, and the Postal Service told them they had to have a name. And apparently the response to the Postal Service was to say, well, name it after the president for all we care. So Bass Harbor, starting around 1900, became McKinley. It stayed McKinley until approximately 1961, when the name was officially changed to Bass Harbor, and they put Bass Harbor on the post office. So that's our post office story. Another thing, most of the town of Bass Harbor does not have home mail delivery. So the bulk of the people that live here get their mail delivered at the post office, which is why this is a busy spot. Across the street from the post office, and this street is Route 102A, is the town park. You can see it there. It's got 4 benches, and that's it. Nothing else there. Now we're going to go down McMullen Road, which is about 100 yards long, to the harbor itself. Drive through past a few buildings. This house here is actually quite old, over 100 years. It used to house a business called Ravenswood, but the house sold a couple years ago and Ravenswood went away. Straight ahead is one of the 3 places you can buy food in Bass Harbor. This is the Seafood Catch restaurant, and it is open seasonally. It's shut right now. Right there is the harbor you can access from the Seafood Catch parking lot. As we come up here, we see a nice good-sized brick building. This is the former Underwood Sardine Cannery, which is now condominiums, and they're quite expensive. And up here we have some more condos. They're of the duplex type, and as we continue down, we get a nice view of the harbor. Here is the harbor, and you can see a scallop dragger coming in right there. So fresh scallops available now. And up here is the Maine State Ferry dock. This ferry goes over to Swans Island, which is across Blue Hill Bay, or over to Frenchboro, which is south of here. So that's the Maine State Ferry dock, and they are currently getting set to load cars. I'm not sure where they're going right now. And when you go past the ferry dock, you get to the end of the road. At the end of the road, there is a former boatyard which was purchased by a fishing company a couple of years ago. It's one of the few companies that fishes for actual fish, although they fish offshore and they maintain their fishing boats here, and it is now closed to the public. This little building across the street from the Maine State Ferry dock is Mainly Delights. It's a seasonal takeout restaurant that specializes in seafood. And we'll head back out past the ferry dock and back to the main road, Route 102A. I'm sort of staying in the truck today because although we're having a bit of a heat wave today, it was only 25 degrees when I left to come over here. So here's another view of the harbor. That's Bernard on the other side where we were the other day. And some little houses here. These, I believe, were houses built for cannery workers. So they're really small. One of them has been renovated, and we're looking across the harbor again here. It's quite a scenic harbor. The tide is pretty nearly high right now, so there's actually water in the harbor. A lot of that area is dry at low tide. Now we're going to continue out here past some more houses. This is the one other business in town. This is Richard Stanley's boatyard. Richard is a wooden boat builder, and he also does maintenance, and but he primarily works on wooden boats unless he doesn't have anything else to do, and then he will work on fiberglass, although he doesn't really like it much. And the house there belongs to Richard's father-in-law, Kim Strauss, who runs boat tours during the summer out to the island of Frenchboro. Okay, so just homes, and this part of the harbor right here, which you can see there, dries completely at low tide. There's no water at all in there at low. We're now coming back to Route 102A, which is the main road here, and on the other side, there go a bunch of lobster trap floats. On the other side is one of the other housing subdivisions here called Bass Harbor Woods, which is homes that were built starting about 25 years ago. And here we are right on the harbor. This is the closest approach for the Maine road, and we're about 10 feet above sea level here. And we'll continue up all the way through town. So you can see it's a quiet little town, not as wooded right here along the harbor as over on the Bernard side. As we follow this lobsterman who's loaded up with floats and pot warp, that's the rope that goes from the float down to the lobster trap, and he'll be rigging out traps over the winter. And we're just about out of Bass Harbor. This is the site of a former restaurant here that burned down a couple of years ago. A big catastrophic fire. Here's another little boatyard business that does winter storage of boats. And our third place that you can get something to eat. It's a combination gas station, convenience store, and has a little deli kitchen in the back. It's called Hanson's Outpost. Before I head back into town, when you first come into Bass Harbor, one of the first things you see is on the left is this building, which is the Tremont Town Office. And so that's where we go for all our municipal services. So we're headed back out, gonna go past the fire station again and back toward where we came into the village. So it's a small town, roughly 400 people, and pretty much everybody who lives here, unless they fish for lobsters, works someplace else. But it is part of the town of Tremont. So here we go, out of town. And if I just continue straight, I'm going to get up here in about a quarter mile, and the main road is going to make a hard left. And if I continue straight, I'm going to go down to the Bass Harbor Head Lighthouse, where we've already been. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. And thank you for taking the time to look at this video.